All right, let's try this again. Oh, that is an ugly bit rate. Okay, good enough for now. Sorry about that. I think everyone's gone now, but it did actually take me that long to get everything up and running. Now I'm getting an unstable warning on Twitch. So let me just see if let's see if we can get a little bit of a pulse back before we go in. That was a particularly savage outage, and I do apologize for that. I'm starting to feel that like certain late starts are just cursed and I shouldn't do them. But the problem with that is it's the sort of thinking that results in me just not streaming in general. And I do not want to give in to that. Like at that point, it's better to just sort of pack up and say, maybe, maybe I'm done. And I'm not at that point. So I appreciate your patience. We will try and move forward with Anders. The drawback on this one, of course, is that because it's going to be split up into two parts on YouTube, I don't know if it's worth putting the earlier one. Like there is quite a bit of story that we just covered in here, so I probably will. But it makes it such a pain to sort through. Anyways, that's fine. We're here for the live show.
Forget Kang Tao. Got any other ideas?
If you think there's anyone else who can help you, I could give you the blueprints. Complete project documentation. Kang Tao offered quite the sum for it.
You got it with you?
He's got to. Gonk's fucking useless without him.
V.
Takamura? What the hell is he doing here?
He's got a few questions of his own for you. You play nice, he might even save your ass. I'm almost done. The blueprints.
Better than nothing. Long as we find someone fluent in technobabble.
What'll you do with him?
I haven't decided yet.
Are you serious?
You know me. I can be impulsive.
He's all yours. I'll give you two some space.
I hope we can come to another.
Relic 2.0 prototype specifications. Top secret, clearance level P0, declassification date NA, project code M-AH-76, 38272SA, project supervisor Anders Hellman, approved by Saburo Arasaka. Project name Relic 2.0, base algorithm Soul Killer, version 2.311.8-B, Relic 1.0, secure your soul. Preliminary review, project summary. Unlike Relic 1.0, the latest version of the biochip prototype is not only designed to store a digitized engram for basic communication, but also an enhanced personality construct capable of independent function and reimplantation into a new organic host body. Relic 2.0's improved personality construct preserves the vast majority of the primary subject's cognitive and virtualized motor functions. Preliminary testing shows emotional output at 75% conformity levels. Note, we are only concerned with the construct's matrix coherence, not with its perceived authenticity, while volition fluctuates at 80 to 90% conformity. The success of the improved engram is largely owed to the use of experimental polyglycol structures, as well as new synthetic granule neuron replicators with pseudomatrices, see section 876403. A precondition of activating the Relic 2.0 is the ceasing of the host's vital functions, brain death, cardiac arrest. Only complete and irreversible shutdown of neural activity can allow the engram to root itself and take over the body, i.e. reboot. Clinical trials using subjects on the verge of biological death have proven unsuccessful in activating the Relic 2.0's basic functionality. In cases where subjects underwent biological death upon taking root, the biochip showed promising signs of initial activity prior to lapsing. Identifying the causes of failure despite fulfilling all technical requirements is the first step to achieving a breakthrough. i.e. complete activation of the Relic 2.0's construct in a suitably prepared organic host body. Full target description, see section 31B02. Hello again, Revive Snow. I'm sorry for the interruption.
Understanding.
That is certainly in your best interest. V, I will remember this.
Well,
This
put a
heat.
check mark
My
next to
throat is
helmets.
positively parched.
What the?
V did not give me
Fuck!
and acceptable. Inhumane. That is not me. You will see the difference. I will give you full buckets. No.
Sit down, goddammit! That the biochip?
No, it's you, you asshole. Killing me, little by little, every damn day.
Little by little is not my style. It's the chip. It's Arasaka.
Fuck!
That was your ticker. Sit and rest. Don't need you flatlining while we got a job to do.
Blah, blah, blah. Fuck Arasaka, blah, blah, smash Mikoshi.
You really are turning into me.
Can't say I'm excited, cause you're a manipulator, an egotist, and a cynic. Every time you open your mouth, you gotta bury someone.
You know, we get along as the need arises. Maybe it's time you started trusting me more.
You can be a charming guy. Just make the effort, charisma flows. Then I remember that nuke you detonated downtown, without a second thought, and no hint of later remorse.
It was Mikoshi I was after. Wanted to destroy it. Gave Sokka ample time to clear the building.
You knew countless people would die. Don't kid yourself.
Take lives aplenty yourself. See scale as a problem?
No, the maniac in my head's the problem.
Huh. Maniac in the head of a hypocrite.
Got no idea where I'm going. Be a living legend. That's all I wanted. Feels like I'm barely surviving.
Test of a person's true value? Death. Facing it. Staring it down. You still got a chance to be somebody.
Yeah, maybe. What was it like when you died?
Was on top of the world. Failure not an option, not a thought. Till it happened. Death feels real now. It's only now I know it.
Now? Had half a century to come to terms.
Mikoshi felt, I don't know, like sleep? Lacked awareness, had no sense of passing time. Didn't mark it. Did what they wanted to me. I just remember cold, black void, fear. Or was that your death?
Mikoshi. Why'd Arasaka even build it?
If I could only see inside Saburo's head. People can be bought, brainwashed, but it's only in Mikoshi that you can peer inside a soul, pick it apart, reprogram it. They've amassed quite a collection. Scary, talented runners, soul-killed, packed away. Probably using them now, probably controlling them.
So, ruling hearts and minds. That's what it's about. The usual.
Corps have always tried to shackle people one way or another. Saburo's ambition is greater. He's out to control humanity.
Well, think I get why you detest the place.
Shouldn't exist. Of all the destruction and pain Corps wreak round the world, what happens at Mikoshi is worst. Know why?
They can change who you are. Turn you into someone else without you even knowing it.
Yep, goddamn right. Corps have already taken the world for their own. Now they're coming for us.
Realize what you're doing to me is what Arasaka's doing at Mikoshi.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm gonna fix it.
Let's move. Back to work.
Let's do.
So this, I remember when I first played, was one of the, I thought was one of the more interesting segments, just because it was mostly the fact that Hellman specifically tells you that, you know, over time, gradually, you'll... Cool. Over time, you'll start acting more like Johnny. You'll start doing things that you thought were unthinkable. And I'm sure this is purely intentional on their part, but it does create, you know, fairly early into the game, I think, this idea that... Do they not retain the camera? There you go. I'm also going to take a second here to find a new destination. Oh, we have got some side gigs. I think I'm going to do those before I go too far down the path. But yeah, so to me, one of the things that made that most interesting was that it, like in one sense, as you learn more about the world, as you fight the corpse, as you learn more about just everything, really, you know, you probably will adopt more of Johnny Silverhand's worldview, but introducing that detail, the idea that Johnny is, you know, is taking over, and specifically that one of the ways that control is manifested is you start agreeing more. That adds sort of that second layer. And there's some fun stuff you can do with that too. There's an example that people take from Deus Ex where, you know, you're running around, you're JC Denton, super spy, you finished your first mission, you're going into the headquarters, and you have an option to go, you know, to the bathroom, and there's, you know, a men's washroom, women's washroom, clearly signed, but it's a video game. You can go into either room. It doesn't stop you. And if you go into the women's washroom, there's a woman in there, like, looks at you, it just says, "How unprofessional." And that's it. But I mean, again, it's a game where you could go in, you know, and you can hop on people's desks. You can do whatever. You can behave in a way that is completely inconsistent with your real world behavior. And that's kind of the reason we play video games, right? I mean, that's one of the reasons why Cyberpunk is a really interesting setting for a video game, because it's, you know, a world with its own set of rules. It's not completely divorced from our reality, but it's one of, you know, lots of personality. It's one with lots of opportunity. And while there are laws and rules, they are much looser than what they are. It's sort of like the point that people make about sort of these the I never liked the term post-apocalyptic. Okay, so sorry, I'm gonna digression to the digression here. I actually don't kind of like the term post-apocalyptic, and it's just generally because apocalypse means something, and it's actually one of the initial reasons why I really liked Cultist Simulator. Apocalypse does deal with sort of the end of things. It does have sort of this like end of the world sort of theme, but it's a specific type of literature. So usually this will be given in sort of reference to the Bible. So something like the Book of Daniel or the Book of Revelation. But the hint is actually in the second of those books, Revelation. It's not just about the end of the world. it's specifically about this sort of secret or this message. It's about these, kind of truths or ideas that are communicated through sort of the end of things. It's, the idea of apocalypse is almost kind of this incredibly shattering, or like if you get this idea of like world shattering revelation, we're talking about the kind of knowledge that can only be expressed through the destruction of everything or can conceive of. It's a very interesting and a very rich type of literature. And it's, it's a little bit like other words. So like, I'm also one of these sticks in the mud. I completely understand the fact that there is no fixed meaning in the English language. So, I stalked you on Facebook. Well, Facebook's a bit dated, but like, stalked you online or whatever. Once upon a time, that would carry a very high degree of menace. I would actually probably say within my lifetime, that would carry a fairly sinister implication. Whereas now, like, everybody talks about, stalking each other on various forms of social media or various types of sites. So, and you can see how it happens, right? Like, people tend to have it's hyperbole that allows something like that to happen. Literally obviously does not mean literally anymore. Literally very often means anything but. The one for me is fulsome, which, tends to mean sort of ingratiating or obsequious. But today, when people use fulsome, they very often mean a fuller or more complete reply. I actually tend to see this in some government documents. People will sometimes refer to like a more fulsome version. And I'm like, I don't think that means what you think it means. But I mean, again, it's clear that they know. And it's funny. I tend to find like I'm a little more relaxed on this than I seem to be when I rant about it. I've gotten some rather high-handed lectures from people on how language isn't fixed and so on and so forth. But the second part to that observation, in my view, is that there is a certain slovenliness in terms of thought that we've let creep in. And it does, in my view, come through the loose use of language. At the very least, it's one of these, I don't know, guardrails almost. So, I tend not to like the way most people use beg the question. Begging the question is a specific logical fallacy in which you are essentially assuming the conclusion before, at the beginning of your claim. What people tend to mean when they say beg the question is actually ask the question or invite the question. And again, I'll fully understand that these phrases have meanings that shift over time, and yet I think there is quite a bit of value in understanding the logical fallacy, understanding why it is an example of poor thought, because we so I don't want to be too strict on this. I don't think we're in like a uniquely terrible period of like, oh, everybody's just completely abandoned all logic. But there is some really, really shoddy thinking that goes by. And, I think partly it's just because we have lots of transmission mechanisms that don't necessarily require us to put as much thought. So if you're charismatic and you're on YouTube, you can just kind of get away with saying a whole bunch of nonsense and it just washes over you. Politics is particularly terrible for this. So, to me, I think if everybody woke up today and stopped using beg the question when they mean invite the question, I'm not entirely sure we would see the world completely transform. But it's one of these things, right, where knowing the difference actually matters. It's a little bit like politics in the English language, where Orwell sort of talks about, original phrasings, not letting things sort of become substitutes for thought. I think there's some value in that, and for the same reason, I think there's some value in thinking about what you're saying, even when we recognize that the language is going to shift over time. But so, anyways, one of my weird little my weird little quirks is that where I can, I like to retain the meaning for apocalypse. And it's more so that term has power when it, when it comes up, because I think, you can take a small film like Night of the Living Dead, one of George Romero's earlier films and probably the really famous zombie movie. And that one, I think, is a pretty smart take on zombies. Like it's a movie that's clearly saying something on top of just a horror experience. Dawn of the Dead, right? It gets a bit heavy-handed at times, but people trying to survive in a shopping mall with all of the zombies sort of pawing at the windows. It's one of those ones where basically it goes like one step further than it had to. So you can, in my opinion, you can have like scenes of the zombies pawing at the storefront windows, and I think the point is made. And what Dawn of the Dead will do is it'll have that, and then you'll have a character look to each other and said, "This place must have been important to them," and maybe important to them in their lives or something like that. It's like, okay, thanks. The 5 people who hadn't made the connection have now made it, and I'm like, to me, that sort of stuff it's a little cheapened when you do that. But in general, I think the point is that for these kinds of stories, whether or not they are done with finesse, they're very clearly stories with something to say. And what we tend to see now, it will be, zombie apocalypse. It's like the one, apparently, I don't know if it's an evergreen, but it's one that people sure like to make genre. And effectively, these are theme parks. And some people have made the observation, this is a very American sort of thing, that, you get sort of this libertarian theme park when society falls apart. You're finally no longer constrained by society. You are the Ubermensch and you can do whatever you want. And then if you look at a game made by, in Europe where, 2 major world wars were fought, you get stuff like Metro. It's not exactly a theme park when you're dealing with a post-apocalyptic environment. So those kinds of stories, I think, or Cultist Simulator, I think those are good examples. I think those are ones where it's sort of meaningful and it's helpful to kind of talk about post-apocalyptic. But just to reduce apocalyptic to, a synonym for the end of the world or something. It's like, I get it. I get why it's there, but I sometimes think it misses the power of the idea. And it just would be interesting if we had more apocalypses. And fewer zombie apocalypses. Like, there's so many zombie apocalypses which I look at and it's just, hey, you guys like zombies, right? Hey, here's the zombie. Or, hey, you guys like Cthulhu, right? Here's a guy with the tentacles for his face. Bye. There's a reason why some of this stuff is compelling, and it's usually not because of the guy with the tentacles on their face. Although obviously, or like, there's a while where it felt like people would just apparently have to obsessively talk about bacon for some reason, and that just made you an interesting person for some reason. It's like, I'm not going to say, it's salty, fatty meat. It's kind of one of those things everybody will like, but I don't quite see the need to, make a really big deal about somebody mentioning bacon. That might be an idiosyncratic one. Maybe nobody else experienced that but me, but But yeah, so in the case of Night City, right, you've got something kind of like that libertarian playground that I talked about, but it's, I mean, it is also a city in which a, atomic weapon went off. Not that you'd tell looking at it here, but um, it is just one of those things where I think, there's enough to go on. There's enough that's sort of fun and interesting to happen inside of the city. Sorry, I've nested a few topics in, but I'd introduced the idea. Sorry, it was about the it was something related to how your relationship with Johnny goes. But I guess the thing here is that because I now sort of take it as this signal of things that can happen, or a signal of what it means in terms of my relationship with Johnny, that maybe maybe my view of the world is that I'm getting a better idea of how horrible these corporations are, but that's also reflecting Johnny's point of view. And so it could just as much be the slow operations of the relic as it is my actual realization of the state of the world. I thought that was a really interesting touch. It's something I quite liked about this game, because there's always going to be that doubt. And I did like the fact that you do sort of call Johnny out on the fact that he's doing the thing that he's opposed to you. I still don't know how I feel about having the other shoe drop. I always kind of like that just sitting there, but I tend to I think it's because I've seen too many examples of shows where they make it really explicit, and I always kind of tend to like the idea to just sit there. I've always sort of liked it, and this might just be because I maybe took like a drama class once in high school, but I've always sort of thought there's the thing that they kind of tell you with acting, which is there's the dialogue on the page, and then there's actually what's going on between the two characters. And it's not it's kind of like I will get onto the game after this, but it's like when you are doing poetry in an English class, which maybe you didn't voluntarily take. Sometimes it's being treated as some sort of cryptogram that you need to, get the exact meaning that the professor or the teacher wanted from you. And if you don't, then you get a bad mark. And that's no way to instill a love of poetry. So there's a danger in doing that with dialogue. But on the other hand, this stuff happens all the time, right? If you're in a workplace and there's an generally workplaces that you're expected to have a certain degree of collegiality, right? But in any given workplace, there's definitely someone who doesn't particularly care for me. And, they're not going to say anything that will get them in trouble, but they're definitely going to try and find a way to say something to let me know they don't like me very much. And that, when people talk about natural dialogue, that is going to be something that comes up. I mean, sometimes it's also nonverbal. That's one thing that a lot of better graphics have realized for us, where a gesture can sort of mean something and you can reliably expect an audience to pick up on it. So, likewise, if you're giving a presentation and someone's, just staring down at the table in front of them or working on their laptop or something like that, they're not paying attention to what you're saying. And, that carries with it its own meaning. And if you've had a previous scene, about how, you say to them, it really means that if you participate, or they you've established that was something that you'd wanted and they're not doing that thing. And of course, that's the juxtaposition of those two ideas creates a particular meaning that isn't necessarily present in the moment. No character says, "You've hurt my feelings" doing that, but the action itself sort of speaks for it. And so I always kind of like it when they just let they they let the line speak for itself, because essentially it allows people to take what they want out of that encounter. I think it allows a little bit more for the player to have run around in their head. But on the other hand, I might be a little, I have a tendency to probably want to like pull it back one line in most cases. I know I've given this example before, but this will be the last one that I have. It's also because when I watch like golden age of HBO shows, there was one called Oz, which is like one of the first times they tried to do sort of long form stories in the serial format. And I actually remember there's two examples. There's one that I give usually, but I actually remember there's a second one too. So one example is someone's threatening like this priest-like character. And like he says something along the lines of, it was like, otherwise I'm going to have to arrange you, like they're talking about God, otherwise they're talking about God in this case. Otherwise we're going to have to arrange a personal, like a personal conversation in heaven. It's like, just don't put the in heaven. And that isn't actually an effective threat. And then the other one, I try to remember exactly what the line is, but it's like some characters tried to frame the other one for a murder, and he's like, I had a lot of time to think when I was in the hole. It's like you plus so and so equals me almost on death row. The other character's like, hey, you should check your calculations there, brother. And then the other character's like, yeah, that wasn't too good at addition. It's much better at subtraction. Again, on its own, kind of says what it needs to, but then it's like it's like Oz minus you, and the guy who also framed him was like, we get it. You're threatening to kill the guy. And like, I guess like, if you want to, I guess principle of charity would say that like these are not necessarily like scholars. It's probably wrong to say that everybody incarcerated is like a dunce, but some of these people are not necessarily going to have particularly sophisticated speech or worldviews for that matter. But it is a drama, right? And I don't know, like I'm probably meaner to Oz than I should be, because it's not the only example of like kind of cringy writing. But on the other hand, they're definitely the ones I keep thinking of like, this is immediately improved as soon as you just go one line earlier in the dialogue. So for what it's worth, on with the game. I don't get what's happening to me. I'm in the city, free to do whatever I want with my life, but fuck, am I really free? I left my old life because things started to get a little inconvenient. That would mean I'm always just going to be running. Does that make sense? Maybe Mitch was right. You should go back, settle everything once and for all. And even if, what about Saul? I can't change him, and I can't change what I think about him. So don't go lecturing me on compromises, please. I didn't mean to, but trust me, you can live with someone. You can live with someone you don't always get along with. Sounds corny, but it's true. You'll see. I just didn't like the idea of replying, okay.
Man, did I miss you.
Huh. It seemed like there was a chance for me to turn off. Oh, here we go. Police like it when you do that. Ah, I almost went by without a scratch.
Hello, we haven't met. I'm Elizabeth. My husband and I, we need a somewhat delicate matter handled. We think you could help.
Mind my asking who your husband is? Actually, who are you?
I'd rather not discuss details over the phone. Please, meet with us. We'll explain everything. As I said, it's a rather delicate matter.
Why call me of all people? Any particular reason?
You came recommended.
Yeah, who by?
I'd rather not say, not over the phone. Is there any way we could meet, discuss some details?
Sure, let's do that.
I'll send you the address. See you.
I definitely remember that mission. I'm gonna do the gig that I arrived for first. I always felt quite bad about that one. I'll talk about it when we get to the ending of it, but it's one of not over Twitch chat. It's one of the, in my view, it's actually one of the bleaker missions. It really, there is no like good way to end it, and like it's appropriate because I think that's the setting, right? That's, you know, not everything turns out good, but it's definitely one of those bleak endings where you really do wish it turned out differently. So it's one I feel, I guess I have slightly more complicated feelings about, just because it's one of the better examples of where I want this world to be one way. And very often I find that this game will actually allow you to be a little bit of a hero and walk around fixing the world and just sort of making things a little bit better if you want. And the Parallels mission is one really where, you know, there's no way to make it better, and it's sort of an indication that there are just greater forces at work than you're ever going to be able to comprehend or take on.
You know, I don't typically see strong-arming as the best way to get results. Still, sometimes you're left with no choice but force. There's this scuzzbag needs to be reined in. A sadist on a corporate leash. A real hemorrhoid on Night City's ass. Do us all a favor and handle this contract. Details are attached.
All right, gun for hire. At first I thought it was just rumors and the kind of drunken bullshit you hear at a bar at 3 a.m., you know? But when you hear the same story from 3 separate witnesses, you start taking an interest. Now that my informant confirmed the accounts, it's time to dive into action. Look, I don't want to sound like some naggy old crone, but back in my day, workers knew how to stand up for themselves. Instead of fixers, they had unions to fight for their rights. I know. Anyway, now with the unions gone, these workers can't afford to hire fixers on starvation-level salaries. Lucky for them, I like to do some pro bono work from time to time. You know, a little something for the public good. On to the fine deets. Vic Vega, the kind of scum who writes cracking skulls in the hobby section of CV. Well, that's exactly what he's doing in Rancho Coronado, cracking skulls. Not only that, but he's got the full backing of the corp execs, who'd rather give their workers brain damage instead of a 2% raise. Vega and his people have been terrorizing the whole neighborhood. Workers have had enough. Who the fuck wouldn't agree? You're gonna find Vic Vega and end that psycho for good. Maybe then the corpos will realize they crossed a line. I think I remember this one.
I'm sorry, do you have an appointment?
I'm here to get rid of some unwanted documents.
Beg pardon? Which documents?
How am I supposed to know? Job said come here, so here I am.
Nobody told me anything about any documents.
Looks like you got a real mess in here. A little audit would be in order, don't you think?
Okay, wait, one moment. Let me check in the back.
Well, that's silly. I actually just wanted to see if she had any more dialogue. So. All right. One more time, and then I'm going to have to live with it. Okay, I think probably my best bet here is to ping.
Virtuosos and theatrical performances in the No tradition.
Trying to mark as many of these as I can, knowing I'm probably not going to get the full batch. Well, crap.
Get your shit together!
I don't think I've ever seen somebody get taken out by that before. Okay, security. Vic Vegas, starting from today, the doors of the building will only take the crypto keys I handed out last week. The ones I told you not to lose, so better not fucking call me saying you can't get in. If you see anyone fumbling with the locks, pin the asshole to the ground floor and raise the alarm. New tenant, C-Team. Starting next week, the building will be rented out by an organization called C-Team. C-Team is in the property protection business. The team leader, Vic Vega, has emphasized that they require security as well as privacy, so I kindly ask that you do not disturb our tenants without very good reason. The second floor, where Mr. Vega's office is located, will be subject to an added layer of security. Should any issues occur, please contact me before anyone else. Please also bear in mind that in accordance with Article 6, Paragraph 5 of your agreements, the landlord is within full rights to open fire on any individual entering the premises without prior approval. Have a pleasant day, Leah Limbaugh. Bonuses from Vic Vega to C-Team. Good news, we collected ourselves a nice little pile, which means bonus time. Now, before we start pointing fingers about who got more and who got less, I'll just say how we're splitting this up. 20% is determined by rank, 30% by the number of successful interventions, and 50% through participation in Black Ops. If you have any concerns, suggestions, or doubts, shove them up your asses. Sincerely, VV. So I won't worry too much about duplicates, but I'll definitely get rid of anything that's lower quality. Hopefully this result, yeah, there we go. Transport's on the way. Protection payments, Marcos paid, Robert removed, Nadia paid, Imelda stalling 1 week, Felipe stalling 1 week, Arnold paid, Priya stalling 4 weeks, Jeremy remove. Priya Raj, got a job for you. It's about Priya Raj. She runs a garage up in Rancho. This is the 4th week she stalled on payment. Someone needs to teach her her place, and that place should be a hospital. Burn the garage also means that Milito didn't learn from his mistakes, so let's teach him another lesson. How you doing, Vanguard Master? Wendy Chu, hey, we had to take out one of the guys. He was refusing to work, making trouble, and firing up the others. Make sure the NCPD doesn't stick their snouts into this. Body's already gone. Other than that, everything's going according to plan. Unions are laying low. And protection. A mutual friend mentioned that you guys know how to deal with workers. I've heard whispers that my factory is gearing up to a strike. Firstly, I don't want that to happen. And secondly, I want the ringleaders taken care of once and for all. How much would that cost? Best, Jamil. Doing all right. Work. Glad to hear it. I should be a little rosier on this than I actually am, but I do. So I follow the Unity 3D subreddit, and I think one of the reasons for it is it's just a way for me to get mad about something, because it feels like it's a 5th column against Unity, frankly. But yeah, every once in a while there'll be something interesting in there, and like every once in a while too, there's just an interesting game. Like it's neat to see some people showing off some interesting projects. But it's also a little depressing just because you will sometimes see some projects and like people are like, yeah, I quit my job and I did 5 years on this and we're ready to release, and it kind of looks like something that they did over a weekend. And it's like, oh man, like I feel really bad for this guy. Like I'm not the type who's gonna turn around and say like, oh yeah, no, it's over, bro. Like, just give up now. But like looking at some of that stuff does make me sort of think, it's like, oh god, like how do people even like manage to finish the project, right? Like it's not even the question of get the money, get on Steam, get the various things that people want to try and do to get on get a product to market, but just the simple idea of like seeing a project through to the end, regardless of its quality. So I'm always a little heartened when it's someone like, there's just something different between knowing intuitively that games get made, right? Like once upon a time, this was a prototype in something that probably looked a bit like The Witcher 3.
Vega's taken a little nap in the trunk. No sieves hit. Yep. Knew you were the right one for the job. Very soon Vega will learn his actions bear consequences. I'll teach him that personally. Pro bono. Nice work, V. All Night City thanks you. Get closed and sealed.
But yeah, so like once upon a time, this probably looked like a really crappy mod for The Witcher 3. And I'm sure there were plenty of times over the course of making this that the team was utterly convinced that this was going to be a disaster, like that it was just irredeemably broken. But you know, I think it's a pretty good game. But the thing is that that's the difference. It's like, you know, working in movies almost. Getting to that point where movies are not just something that other people make, but in fact are a thing that I kind of wanted to do that mission that I started, but it'd be sort of nice to finish the stuff that's available. I don't know. Cold Mirage, Parallels. Yeah, you know what? Let's follow through with the mission. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's the difference between knowing intuitively, or the fact that you're playing a game that, yes, games like aren't just manifested out of nowhere, and that there is a point where they don't exist and then they come into being, and that, you know, it's not a straight line, but these things are created, to actually knowing someone who you have some sort of contact with is actually in that process of making it, and that they are going past the point of like, oh God, this is terrible. You know, why did I ever do this? It's always kind of encouraging. I think that might be why I try to go to the local game dev stuff. And yeah, I'm sympathetic to it. I mean, I also think that there are different temperaments that do projects, and I also don't know how analogous certain experiences from like writing or some of the things that I do are to game development. But I know in my own case, one of the drawbacks will be that with very, very few exceptions, I don't actually have a particularly warm feeling to a lot of the writing, like including some of the stuff that people say is quite good. In a lot of those cases, I still, well, you know what? In for a penny, in for a pound. I am very, very screwed. I tried to hit the recovery button, didn't work. Yeah, so even the stuff that people have warmly commented on, I don't always get a positive feeling towards, and that doesn't feel great. And it's actually something that I think keeps me from being a better writer, because in the end, you do sort of need to be able to discern. I mean, like, it sounds silly, but like, you do need to be able to discern good writing from bad writing. And, you know, to be able to, like, sit down with a sentence that I wrote. Oh, God, I just lost control. Well, it could have been worse. So just give me a second here. Something feels a little off. But yeah, like, there's a point. I don't know what the gaming equivalent to this is, but like, for writing, there is a point where you can hit where you write sentence, like, and a lot of people do this, right? You write a sentence, and the sentence is like, it's grammatically correct, or at least, you know, free of like really obvious mistakes. And it sort of says what you wanted, and you can't necessarily consciously explain exactly how the sentence works. You just know that it's serving the purpose that you wanted. And that's fine. You know, in some cases, you can actually do some pretty good writing like that. And this could just be sort of an unexamined belief that I have, and there isn't anything to back it up. But there is also a side of me that thinks, to get to a point of excellence, that actually you have this weird point where you actually need to break that down, and it can sometimes mean that you actually write worse for a while. And what it essentially is that you move away from this idea where it's just the stuff that comes naturally, and it's actually something of a conscious understanding of how, your sentence or your paragraph is working. And it's not at all to imply that, you go from this very natural style of writing to, sort of laboring and being tortured, over every single line. But what it does mean is that you actually have enough of an understanding of what you are doing and why it works that you can sit down, and it's not just sort of winging it. It's not just you are developing sort of an instinct for these things, but you can sit down even with something that you've written, and maybe you can find meaning that wasn't there before, or you can sort of turn the knobs. Like essentially you develop both the capacity to have that, kind of magical inspiration side, like the stuff that people try to account for but never do a perfect job of saying, like how they knew to have that character or that line or that turn of phrase, while still possessing the qualities that allow you to look at that, like you have that generation, while also being able to say, I can do better, and here's the way that I alter that to make that sound even better. And like I said, that does sometimes mean a little bit of regress because you've gotten practiced to, improvising it for so long. But I do sort of believe that there's that, if you can develop that taste, if you can develop that ability to look at it critically while still not completely cutting yourself off from the being open to good ideas, that's where the really excellent stuff comes from. But again, I think one of the challenges for me is that it does actually require me to be able to sit down and look at my writing and there's always going to be that self-consciousness, and there's always going to be that feeling of like there's going to be a room for improvement. But I think it is important to understand what makes good writing work well enough that you can sit down, and even if you feel a little squeamish, like, something like...
V, how you doing, honey? Listen, got a golden opportunity for you.
Word on the streets that when Wako says golden, it's usually a turd wrapped in crepe paper.
It's a sticky situation.
Sticky? Wow, you're really selling this, Wacko.
Job like any other. Just the client's will demanding.
Client's got every right to be demanding. What makes this one any different?
Wants everything to go exactly as planned. Willing to break the bank for it, too. Job like this needs your magic touch, V. Anyone less experienced it, just fuck it up.
Huh. Thanks for the vote of confidence. Now I'm sure it's a turd in crepe paper. So what's the spec?
Caroline Jablonski. Set off any buzzers for you. Murdered in cold blood. Made waves a few years back. They locked the guy up. But now there's a chance he could walk. Jablonski's family wants to balance the scales of justice for good. You'll finish him.
So you want me to murder someone?
Wait, this isn't the Dalai Lama? Must have gotten the wrong number. You didn't arrive in this pond yesterday, V. You know how the fish gets sliced.
The perp being proven guilty, meaning he deserves to die, truly?
Do I look like a criminal prosecutor to you?
What did he do exactly?
I'm not a beat reporter, neither. You want the job or not?
All right, I'm in.
Good. Client will be waiting for you by a car at the corner of 6th and Brandon.
Huh, in a car?
Client wants to tag along. Be there in person when you put a bullet through the guy's eye. Good luck.
But yeah, anyways, it's just one of those ones where for my own part, I do sort of feel like a thing that holds me back from becoming better is being able to develop that discernment that says, what's working, what isn't. And part of that does actually mean being able to identify when I've done well and when I haven't. And if everything sort of seems kind of gray and grim, there isn't excuse me, there isn't that opportunity to learn from the good.
Are you V? Please, step in the vehicle.
Okay.
Hello, V. I'm Jefferson Peralez. You've already spoken with Elizabeth, my wife.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Peralez. Mrs. Peralez.
Right again, Liz. You see, my wife is a great judge of character. Said this would work. Now I see why.
So, what do you got for me?
Carter, let's go.
Elizabeth?
Well, as you're probably aware, Mayor Lucius Rhine recently passed.
We want to know how, why, whatever else is pertinent.
It was all over the news.
Of course it was. Media feasted for weeks. Pieces like that are their lifeblood.
Right. Think they missed something?
We have reason to believe they did, yes.
As far as I know, case is closed already.
It is. Of course, the police wrote it off as natural causes. Rhine passed at home due to a cardio implant malfunction.
But we're left wondering about the cyber psycho attack at City Hall a few days earlier.
The police say it was completely unrelated.
These suspicions of yours wouldn't have anything to do with the upcoming election, would they?
Of course they would. If Lucius Rhine was murdered, we want to know. Need to know.
What makes you think the cops got it wrong? Got any evidence?
Shortly before Rhine passed, he made cuts in the NCPD budget. Perhaps got on someone's bad side that way.
In any case, we have the cyber psycho attack on a BD.
Our chief of security scanned it but didn't find anything out of the ordinary, so to speak. We need a braindance editor, a real one. It's raw footage.
The braindance. It has to be back where it belongs today, or a lot of people will be in a lot of trouble. If you agree to help, you can see it right now.
Where'd you get the scroll?
Ryan was making a public appearance. BD's scrolling standard procedure for events like that. Following the attack, the NCPD impounded the footage as evidence.
We had to pull many strings to extract it.
All right. See what I can do.
Excellent. We'd be happy with any find that would clarify things. Alleviate lingering doubts.
Well, what do we got here?
Question is, what are you doing here?
My brain too, isn't it?
And this time, don't go scrolling every ass you see. Eyes on the mayor. Stuff belongs to City Hall. Let's make it PG.
Hold it! Stop right there! Slow your roll!
River Ward, NCPD. Police. Let him in?
Let him wait.
It's important. Gotta speak to the mayor's chief of security.
Preem, do it after the conference.
And this time, don't go scrolling every ass you see. Eyes on the mayor. Stuff belongs to City Hall. Let's make it PG.
Who's the Holt guy?
No idea. Those ass clowns are all the same.
God, it's been a while since I've done one of these. Oh, here we go.
Second conference in 3 days. No idea what this blitz is for.
That's why I'm mayor and you're not. Now's when we need the visibility.
You're spreading yourself too thin.
I'll rest tonight. My room at the Red Queen's race is ready.
Yes, of course.
Good. Now go. Gotta practice.
Red Queen's race. Cause any inner synapse zaps?
Sure, bunch of old Brit farts in powdered wigs shouting, "Off with their heads!"
You know, you're allowed to say you don't have a clue. They left literally seconds before the attack. Now, it looks planned, like it was done on purpose.
That or the psycho saw his chance and took it. Don't get paranoid on me.
Police. Let it. Gotta speak to the mayor.
The cop wanted to tell security something.
Probably that he was standing by to lick Ryan's butthole.
Terminal crashed right as he went through the gate. Yeah, glitch was no accident.
Nah, seen stranger coincidences.
Like
when you bang some chick and then her sister later, same night. And it turns out they're both sisters of God.
That really happened to you?
Nah, but it could've.
Could've chromed half the city with what he was packing.
Probably what happened. Body disappeared from the morgue, sight unseen. And then some pig got himself a new set of wheels and an ugly-ass suit.
Know that? We're just talking out your ass again.
Once you've seen all I've seen, don't need to know things to know them. People are the same everywhere.
Okay, it's coming out your ass. Well.
After the conference. Preem, do it after the conference.
The tune. Don't recognize it.
Tune?
What he's humming.
Wouldn't call that a tune.
He's really into it.
So, any thoughts? Did you see anything suspicious? Anything at all? Or are we paranoid?
Rather not jump to any conclusions. There's not much to go on. Still too early to say.
Sure. Any questions at this point?
Red Queen's race. What is it?
Got me. Never heard of it. Sorry.
Who's Holt?
Ryan's deputy. And his bulldog, so to speak. Running in Ryan's place now.
Conference. Why was it held?
For no particular reason. Ryan liked the sound of his voice and seeing himself on TV. Yeah, that sort of thing. As far as I recall, the drop in Night City's violent crime rate was the excuse for this one. Ryan came out to tout it.
Sorry, drop.
Ryan reclassified Pacifica an independent district. Stats for that part of town stopped counting.
Clever. Cop who saved Ryan. Know anything about him?
Detective River Ward. Good guy. We worked a few cases together. You want to talk to him? I'll put you in touch.
Mayor's Hustle, the NCPD.
No. All handpicked by Holt. And on a corpse payroll. But there are ex-cops among them.
Anyone else besides Ryan's detail have access to the terminal?
NCPD. That's it.
Sheesh, Ward had great timing. Either has crazy good luck or had a source. Got good info. I'm gonna need some of each.
Well said.
Sending you his deeds. If you need anything else, let us know. We'll help.
I see myself? Apparently not. Got a limited time offer for a limited edition Quartz Bandit. Took a little elbow grease to get all the dead flies off her windows, but she's clean as a whistle now. Tossed a pic of the little beaut on Autofixer. Go on, grab her. No need to thank me. I'm actually curious if the, yeah. Huh. I remember one of these I couldn't do before, but I won't mess with it.
This is Ward. Who am I talking to?
Name's V. Looking into the death of one Lucius Rhine.
Wonder why. You're not a cop.
Listen, I know you tried to warn Ryan about the cyber psycho.
What else do you know?
Now that you best meet with me.
All right. I'm headed to Chubby Buffaloes.
Be their stat.
What?
Why did I bring up those people? Well, that's because I've got someone for all of you faithful listeners to keep an eye out for. I've got a trusted source on the street that tells me we've got a visitor to our fair city. He's got a primitive hairdo like a circus clown, and I hear he's even got a big red nose. Supposedly he's some kind of merc or arms dealer, but the rumor is he's also a genetic experiment. But hey, big nose, weird hair, could this guy have something to do with the bozos? Or maybe this guy just left his circus somewhere else. Time's gonna tell, listeners, but in the meantime, I'm counting on you to watch out for flying pies that explode.
I really messed this one up. You're kidding me. Okay, nope, I'll take it.
Someone here to see you, looks like.
Wonder what about?
Wanted to talk. You got a minute?
You must be V. My partner, Detective Han.
Okay. Thanks for agreeing to meet.
You really intend to work with a merc?
Don't know what I intend just yet. For now, I'm gonna see if I hear anything new about Ryan's death.
You back on that? Boss already told you to drop it. Make him say it again. You know he hates to say things twice. And if you couldn't give a rat's fat ass about any of that, heed my advice, as your friend. Just let the case go.
See me do anything? Just sitting here, sipping coffee, listening to gossip.
Fine. Do what you want. I'm not about to be part of this. Gotta go get my little girl anyway. And you two at least find a quieter corner. Wouldn't want to be overheard.
Okay. Talk.
I see Detective Hahn's not a fan of edge runners.
Don't take it personally. Detective Hahn's not a fan of anybody, except his daughter. You wanted to talk?
Before the attack, he wanted to talk to Ryan's hustle. Get some info to them. What was it?
Let me ask you a question first. Why do you got your nose in this? Who hired you?
Sorry. Never give up the names of my clients.
Well then, I'm sure you've got plenty of other leads besides me. I mean, I sure hope so, 'cause I'm not telling you a thing. And I'm not being mean or nosy, nor is it personal. Just covering my own ass. My own safety's at stake too. So, before I open my mouth, I need to know whose ears are listening.
Liz Perales hired me, and her husband, Jefferson.
The presumed future mayor. Guess I could have seen that coming. Know what? Han was right. Acoustics are a little too good in here. Got my car outside.
Okay, sure.
Someone took my car.
Some of the boys from the precinct saw Horvath around Arroyo, shooting up dumpsters, hollering how he's got to meet with the mayor. Brought him in.
Brought who in?
Peter Horvath. Cyber psycho who attacked the mayor later. They took him downtown, but then he got lost before they could get his statement.
So you saw him as a potential threat, decided to warn the mayor. Just like that. 'Cause you got a good heart.
Make it sound like that's something to be ashamed of.
Ashamed? Nah. It's not something you see every day. Said he got lost. How's that happen? What's it mean?
It means someone didn't want him counting roaches in a cell that day. And before you ask me, no. I got no idea who. My turn. Why's Perales looking at this now? Why does he want it done unofficial, on the hush-hush?
Perales could just be scared.
Doesn't want the job of a guy who just got carried out feet first?
Who would? As I see it, Perales is out to smear Holt.
So he thinks Holt's involved?
No, but even if he's not, the murdered mayor isn't great optics for his deputy. Red Queen's race. Heard anything about it? Know what it is?
Maybe I have. Maybe I do. It got anything to do with Ryan?
The guy was headed there the day he died.
Fine. We're gonna see my CI. All I've heard, it's some fancy-ass club. No idea where to even look for it. CI might know. Then we'll go talk to the woman Horvath worked for. Or actually, we could see her first. Up to you.
Sorry. We?
Can't shake this case. Something's up. Just look how quickly it was closed. This way, you can get your job done, while I find evidence that gets my chief to reopen the case. Win-win. So, where to first?
Let's go see your informer. Club's a better lead.
Fine with me.
Wasn't sure if there's going to be any dialogue on this in between. Sometimes there's something to talk about, but I also think in this particular case, the fact that you've just met this character probably makes an extended silence a little bit more appropriate.
My guy works here. You go talk to him. I'll wait outside.
Oh, I remember this.
Tell him Igor says hi. He'll know what it's about.
He's your CI. He doesn't know me.
Well, last we met, it didn't go so well. For him. People he ratted out got wind of it. I think you got a better chance of getting him to talk without me. At least voluntarily.
Who is this guy?
I'm a proud proprietor. He's got all sorts of clients, and he's nosy as hell. So he knows all about everyone. Plus, he's a coward. Perfect combo.
All right, wait here then.
You looking for general inspiration or something specific? Because I can help with both.
Looking for a club. Red Queen's Race?
If I was you, I'd try somewhere a little more welcoming. Lizzie's over in Kabuki is a good start. Or Cloud's in Japantown.
Want an address.
Look, club's invitation only, right? You don't know the address. Means you're not welcome.
Igor says hi.
Fuck, no. Said I was done. I was out. Leave me the fuck alone, all of you.
Hey, Neil.
Piss off.
Relax. Just got one question to ask you. Nothing to see here, sir. Come on, Ghost, I said.
Leave me alone, got it? Can't make me do a damn thing.
Red Queen's Race. Give us the address, we're gone.
Heard that already last time. Then those motherfuckers showed, broke all my fingers.
Wasn't here then. Now I am. I'll make sure nothing happens to you.
Anyone asks, we'll say we got the address off a body we fished out of the bay.
Fine. It's outside city limits. Near the river. Benita Street area.
You been there?
Made some deliveries. Goods. Sometimes peeps. We got no idea why you want to go poking around there. Club's empty. They shut it all down.
Shut it down. Before or after Mayor Rhine died?
Soon after, I guess.
Thanks, Neil.
My shit luck!
Well, well. That's what I call a breakthrough. It seems promising, but I'd still hit that market.
Market?
Orvoth's employer, one I mentioned before. I just wouldn't let that lead drop.
Okay. Let's go see this market of yours.
We gonna take my car?
Sure. Thanks.
I always wondered, I feel like it was raining the last time I did this mission, and there's definitely a side of me that sees why some of these, like transfer between the missions. The rain just gives you something to look at. It's atmospheric. It sounds nice. But it could also be coincidence. It's one of these ones where, depending on the game, there are some... Cool. Yeah, there... I can't really do anything about this. But yeah, so the best example I take of this, I've never been able to figure it. Well, I don't have any source to indicate one reason, like one way or the other. But an example that I sort of thought of was, you'll have games like Diablo, right, where, excuse me, you know, part of that game is just running around a bunch of dungeons. I mean, like, it doesn't exactly win me any popularity points, but one of the ways I kind of look at the Diablo games is that you're paying the price to get a stream of loot boxes, right? So the only difference between like a Fortnite style loot box and something like Diablo is that in the case of Diablo, you sort of pay up front for all of them, and then in the case of Fortnite, you pay incrementally over time. Now, psychologically, there's different ways that people react to that. So it's the same reason why you'd probably order less coffee if Starbucks like made you buy one gift card at the start of the, you know, at the start of the year, and that was all the Starbucks that you could buy.
90% of any detective's job is talking. But you know that already. Must say, you're kinda natural.
The other 10%. What's it consist of?
Writing reports.
So, who are we supposed to talk to? Cyberpsycho's boss, you said?
Christine Markov, 42. File has her as Horvath's sole employer. Sole contact, too, actually. Come on, V.
But yeah, so again, I'm sure people... Sorry, I'll just take a minute to get this out of the way because I know we'll have some dialogue coming up. But yeah, so I mean, the thing that makes that game work, right, is that you have this stream of stuff that you're going to get. And chances are, like, most of the stuff that you pick up off of just generic enemies is not going to be that helpful. You pick them up and put them in your inventory so that you can sell them in the town later, and there's probably going to be some decision that you make in terms of whether or not you leave something on the ground or whether you go back to town to convert it into cash. And then, you know, there's the story about trying to adapt Diablo 3 to consoles, and the realization that it is actually quite difficult and frustrating to navigate the inventory on a console. And so effectively changing the kind of the trash loot to the gold that you were going to turn it into anyway is actually kind of like it's something console gamers want, even though it seems like it is counter to how the Diablo series works. But one thing that's kind of interesting about that formula is if you just stand around and you don't actually hit an enemy, there's not usually something to give you loot. I guess you can sometimes like run into a chest or something like that, but generally those games, to get access to the material, you have to push the game forward. And this means that the player can potentially create situations in which they don't get that reward on the what maybe the designer would consider to be the optimal at the optimal rate. And you can sort of see an example. This is something that I had thought about a little bit when I played Quake for the first time. I actually did that on stream. And sort of this idea that, I guess since Halo, we've had something like, you know, you don't get hit very long and your health effectively comes back. Halo's a little different because it seems to be the first one that really did that in a meaningful way. And so it sort of had it kind of had like one foot in the old style and one foot in the modern style. So your shields would recharge, but you also had sort of a permanent health, which you'd use health med kits for. But I don't think anybody really questioned, or maybe people didn't implement that idea originally, because part of level design, and you can really see this if you play some of those pre-Halo games, a lot of it really seemed to be the rate at which they doled out health and ammo. And, the difficulty could be changed depending on how much you get from the health, or maybe, making it so that the hard versions of the levels like cut out some of the health packs or that. But, you'll have rooms with lots of enemies in it, and then you'll have maybe a little bit of a period where you don't have any health. But then you get to the room with the health and you're sort of back up. And, you can sort of see the designer sitting down, reasoning through roughly what the player is going to experience as they go through their level. And they're trying to work out sort of the push and pull that makes for interesting drama. And of course, now the idea that you can regenerate your health at any time will mean that you have sort of a different set of priorities when designing a level and such. But it also can mean in some situations that you can use other levers inside of the game to bring about the drama or the excitement that people get out of the games. And I think this is particularly true when it comes to loot. So when I played The Division 2, it was really apparent to me, I had gone around the environment, and, whenever I see a little yellow outline, that means that I can pick up some loot. But it was also kind of clear to me that backpacks that obviously seemed like things that I could get loot from were like if they had the yellow outline around them, they had loot. And if they didn't have the yellow outline around them, they didn't have loot in them. And it was really just the fact that there was that outline that was the signifier to me. And once I sort of knew to look for that, I sort of realized that every environment I was in always had not just one, but probably multiple areas in which I knew for a fact I had gotten loot from a similar model. Maybe not that exact same area, but like there was definitely a backpack style, a style of backpack that I'd picked something out of, or a dresser or something like that. And so again, I've never seen any like interview to confirm this, but what I feel is that a game like The Division 2, even if you spend your time avoiding the enemies, there's this implicit timer. Maybe even it's an explicit one, but well, when I say explicit, I mean like it's something actually coded into the game, just not shown to the player. But I believe there's probably some timer in the background saying that, there has to be a reward within, n units of time. And once those n units of time go by, one of those sort of loot areas activates. And it's not to suggest that, if you just stand idle on the screen, one of them goes from not having loot to having loot. But effectively, once, it's chunking in some part of the level or something like that, I would not be surprised if there's actually a very specific rate or pace at which you're supposed to get a little bit of a reward. Just because, again, we live in a time when there's so much data, so many players, that there's a lot more customization. There's a lot more sort of understanding that a developer can have to put that stuff in. Whether or not that translates into any better experiences, I don't know. I think for the most part, games are better today than they've ever been. But I have to imagine that you probably don't want to leave the entire process, like you don't want to leave all the entertainment down just to an algorithm. But by the way, I like this description. First rule of top secret jobs, don't take them. First rule of working with politicians, don't do it. First rule of contacting the police, avoid it. And what do? Break them all at once. Gotta say, V, I'm a little impressed. River Ward thought that nothing could top becoming an NCPD detective, that things could only get easier from there. Well, it turns out that always doing the right thing in Night City is harder than just getting a title. Every day for River is a moral struggle. Either he plays the game or he gives up a slice of his soul. If he ever lets his guard down for even 1 second, some ganger will get the best of him. In spite of all of this, River shows up for work every morning with a can-do attitude. Maybe it's his way of coping, or because he doesn't know how to do anything else. But yeah, so I sometimes wonder, like, I'm pretty sure the rain at the start of Cyberpunk when you're with Jackie and he sweet talks the police officer. I'm pretty sure that rain is scripted, but the rain in the car ride with River, I don't know.
No idea who we're looking for. Gonna have to ask around. I'll start from the left. You take the right.
Slavoj McAllister in the news again. Pompous asshole or eccentric genius? Acclaimed rocker boy Slavoj McAllister has ruffled feathers yet again following his most recent performance at nightclub Totenauts. While a rock concert brawl is no big news in itself, several unofficial sources allege it was McAllister who instigated the violent outbreak after hurling a tear gas canister at paparazzi in the crowd. Before the booze-fueled melee got heated, the Cartesian Duelists premiered new songs Cybernetic Soul, Mind is Freedom, and Cogito Ergo Sum, which, as usual, have critics divided. Lyrically, the new singles touch on issues such as the internal struggle of body and mind, and the limitations of our senses, and the search for absolute truths. Some critics consider the new material pseudo-intellectual drivel. Others praise the band's fresh, innovative spin on the genre. Beyond the brawl, even the McAllisters' headlines are making headlines. When asked in an interview with N54 News about the cryptic title of the tight Cogito Ergo Sum meant, the rocker boy replied, he ain't revved by questions from gonk-brained frauds. What are you? Despite, or perhaps thanks to, the numerous controversies ever swirling around the Cartesian Duelist frontman, his popularity continues to swell. The band's new album is stated for release soon and is, if you believe the chatter on the net, it will be entitled War of Truths.
You Christine Markov?
No, but I know who she is.
Christine Markov.
Stand with the tech, over on the other side.
Find something? If not, get out.
Christine Markov.
No, she's over there. Stall.
Thanks.
Lost track of you somewhere, but I found Christine Markov waiting for you. No! I found her first, damn you!
You Christine Markov, we have some questions.
You badges?
Looking for data on Peter Horvath. Worked here, apparently.
Yeah, he did. Then he stopped working, started making fucking speeches all the time.
When the weird behavior actually start?
When you're talking about Peter, weird doesn't mean what it means for everybody else. Horvath never was completely normal. But the post-jail Horvath versus the pre-jail Horvath? Gonks both, but completely different gonks.
Horvath make good scratch here. Could have bought this whole market with the chrome he was packing.
Oh yeah, made scads on scads here. Motherfucking millionaire, like we all are.
So where'd he get the eddies? Know anything?
Look, if I knew, I wouldn't be here selling scop to tower trash. I'd get myself an AV, fly my fucking slim ass out of here. Peter showed up one day with all that. Extra worked up, too. Whacked enough that I asked him where he got it. He said somebody finally seen what he was worth. And then he launched right into one of his tirades.
These, speeches, what did he have to say?
Ryan, corpse got him by the balls and cock, but he still managed to fuck me. His motto.
Why'd he have it in for the mayor?
Ha! Looking for reason in that whack job? Probably thought Ryan was talking to him through the TV, promising all sorts of shit, then ceasing to give a fuck. Look, I told you what I think. In Horvath's world, everybody was out to get him. Lucius Ryan was out to fuck him, then get him.
So as Horvath saw it, who else had it in for him?
Besides Ryan? A Madame President, mostly. then Arasaka, the Giza, and when he died, it was his son's turn. Would that be all, detectives? You're spooking my clientele.
Somebody'd finally seen what he was worth. Horvath had sponsors.
Don't think we learned much of anything new.
Might seem like we didn't get a lot out of that. Sometimes intel makes sense once you got some context. Say, for instance, somebody says they got a headache. Minor detail. Means nothing, right? Usually, sure. But then the guy waltzes straight into oncoming traffic. The neighbor remembers someone had worked on the air conditioner in the guy's unit. The guy whose head always hurt. Accident? Coincidence? Or maybe air-dispersed poison. A deliberate hit.
You actually caught a case like that?
No. Made it up. Still proves my point. Oh, great. Let me handle this, V. Step aside, Lug. Your boyfriend got sent up for years. Doubt you want the same.
Hey, gentlemen, chill, please.
ウォード、こいつは何者なんだ。なかなかいじめがいのありそうなやつじゃねえか。
Jump, clown! Jump!
What the fuck?
I guess that's what I get for speaking out of turn.
Told you I'd handle it. Oh, okay. Good talk.
Walking the streets with you? Downright unsafe. Got a beef with all gangs or just the Tigers?
I'm a cop. What do you think? Good thing nobody got killed. Little less paperwork. Okay. Red Queen's race now. Gonna ride with me?
Sure, I'll ride with you.
All right. I'm sorry to do this, but I think I actually probably need to wrap it up for tonight. I realize it's a shorter one. A little bit, I know the time on here is off because we had that interruption partway through, but I did get some news. I'm actually going to need to be up early, not even tomorrow. I need to be up early later today. So I think just so I can get a proper amount of sleep, I'll have to leave it here. I will try before I'm out of the country. I will try to be a little bit better at doing some full streams. But I think for now, this is not a terrible place to finish it because I know the upcoming mission takes a little bit of time. So what I will do, Prosciutto Fist is not doing, I was a little surprised to see this, but was doing Lost in Random The Eternal Die, but now she's on to Blueprints, which I think I've heard some interesting things about, but I didn't think she was going to be playing that. So I don't know. Hopefully you're all interested. I know there's not too many people around here, but I will leave you in Pro's capable hands. I'm going to get some sleep, and I will see you all Monday for some Tyranny. And for those of you here for Cyberpunk 2077, I will see you next week.